creeds, cultures, classes, identities, and orientations. And yes, all generations.
All Souls Tulsa and All Souls Everywhere members try to live out what we call love beyond belief.
Bring your whole self each week to our worship services, Humanist Hour, and programs for families and adults.
Empower your children with a religious education that helps them make their own decisions about what they believe.
Connect and learn from our community of diverse experiences, faith, and cultures.
Sing with others in one of our many choirs.
Explore your creativity and find healing in the chapter of your life that you're in right now.
At All Souls, our members care for each other through the highs and the lows of our lives.
Live out love beyond belief here in Tulsa, across our nation, and around the world.
Join us. Become a member of the All Souls family in our centennial year.
At All Souls, our members care for each other through the joys and the sorrows of life.
All Souls Tulsa and All Souls Everywhere.
Join today at allsoulschurch.org.
Are you ready for some more Hebrew? Okay, get ready. Shalom. Shalom. Shana Tova. Which means Happy New Year. May you have a good New Year. This Sunday happens to fall on Rosh Hashanah. This evening at sundown, the Jewish New Year begins. So welcome, welcome. My name is Barbara Prose, and it's my honor and pleasure to welcome you this morning into our sanctuary. We have a wonderful service planned for you. Wonderful to have Daniel Taylor up in our loft on our organ and later on our piano. Thanks for being with us. If you're turning your necks around, I saw some of you doing as you listened to the beautiful sounds of that choir. We also have Janet Allen in our choir loft this morning, standing in for Rick Fortner. Thank you so much, Janet. Our senior minister, Reverend Marlin, will talk to us about feeding our souls and has a message for the children about Rosh Hashanah, a time of return and renewal. It's wonderful to see some of you returning to this beloved congregation at this time of renewal. Welcome to all of you online. Hope you're gathering your children around your screens, maybe bringing a candle and a match so you can light your chalice with us at home. If you have any prayers you want lifted up this morning, any sorrows or joys to share with us, please start sharing those in the chat so we can lift them up here all together, hold them all together in our sanctuary. We're commissioning our care team this morning. It's a very special Sunday for me and for this congregation. Like us on Facebook, share the link. I'm making sure I'm not forgetting anything. Masks, thank you, Marlon, for reminding me. Thank you so many of you for wearing masks. As long as the hospitalizations are at the level they are at in Tulsa, we will be wearing masks when we gather together in large numbers in our congregation and in Emerson Hall, and I thank you all for your cooperation with that. And if you would now rise and greet each other, maybe practice your Hebrew as Randy Lewis comes forward. Shana Tova, may you have a sweet new year. Shana Tova.
Yes. 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 This is indeed a day that God has made. Let us then rejoice in it and be glad. Let us count its many blessings. Let us be grateful for the capacity to see, feel, hear, and understand. Let us be grateful for the incredible gift of life. Let us be especially grateful for the ties of love that bind us together, giving dignity, meaning, worth, and joy to all our days. Please join us in saying our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome to All Souls, where we love beyond belief.
Thank you. Please be seated. Wonderful to hear spirit song voices up in the loft. And thank you, Rhonda Holt, a true leader, an experienced leader, a seasoned leader coming forward to light our chalice. Rhonda has been a longtime member of All Souls, and I think has been a continuous member serving on our care team for 30 years and serves again. That is really so awesome when you let that sink in, and is serving again as chair this year. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
We light the flame of our chalice in appreciation for this caring community made sacred by our acts of service. We affirm our relationships with one another by holding space for the stories that bind us. In courageous love, we express the values at the heart of our covenant, which calls us to dwell in peace and to help others in times of need. As we serve and nourish our families and communities, may we ourselves be filled.
love to hear that Hebrew language in our sanctuary. I'm curious, children who are here, do you know what this is? Any of the children? Just call it out. It's a horn, right? It's a ram's horn. That's one thing it is, right? You can imagine two of these coming out of. What else? Does someone else, I think, said the name of it? It's a goat horn. Yes, or a ram's horn. And it's also a shofar, right? Which is an ancient instrument that back in the ancient Near East, where the Jewish people began, they would play this on the new year to wake people up for the new year to come. And so it's an instrument. I mean, it's not easy to play. Well, we'll see. I might try it here in a minute, but I want to tell you a little bit about it. So this is the new year for Jewish people. They believe this is the day that it all began. And it's a celebration of the beginning of time and the beginning of life. And so every year around this time, it's based on the moon, the cycles of the moon, they celebrate the new year, Rosh Hashanah. Can you say that? Rosh Hashanah. All right, beautiful. You can speak good Hebrew. And so here's the thing. The rabbi will come at the end of the service in Rosh Hashanah, which begins at sundown tonight, and will blow the shofar with the idea that it's going to wake people up, and then they're supposed to go out and seek repentance, or to go find ways to say, I'm sorry if they've hurt somebody, to give something back if they've stolen something, to say something nice to somebody if they've been mean to somebody. Because the idea in the Jewish tradition is that at the new year, God keeps open the book of life for who will live for another year for 10 days. At the beginning of the new year, you have 10 days, they believe, to go out and make amends, to go out and say, I'm sorry, and to fix the things you've done wrong. And then, if you've done that, and you come back on Yom Kippur, 10 days later, for the high holy days, the Day of Atonement, then you are blessed, and God puts your name, with all the other names, into the book of life, and seals it for another year. So, whether you're Jewish or not, and I will say that my father is Jewish, and my mother grew up Catholic, and they raised me in the Unitarian Universalist Church outside Chicago. Barbara's father also is Jewish. And I'm wondering, anyone else have Jewish heritage? Someone in your family that's Jewish or Jewish? Yeah, a number of people. So the Unitarian Universalist churches have been places where a lot of people who have mixed marriages from people of different religions will come to raise their children and to find a common ground where all religions will be respected and honored and taught to the young people in a way that is open and caring and inclusive. You ready to hear the sound of the shofar? Try to wake you up. All right, well, you might need to give me a couple tries now. It's been a long time. This instrument is, play the blues? I'm going to feel some blues if I can't get this thing to sound. We'll see how it goes. Here we go. Hold on now. Hold on now. Thank you. And now our children are welcome to go to your classrooms to follow Shannon and Libby and our Sunday school teachers out to their classrooms.
I want to say that watching all the kids go out was really, really wonderful and beautiful to see. I'm so glad. It's like half the church just got up and left. So glad to see all the kids. There's a long tradition at All Souls of members helping ministers to tend to the pastoral needs of the community. One of my first pastoral care experiences since I've rejoined the ministerial team here at All Souls this past May was on a hospital call, while on call. As it is the care team's routine to call the local hospitals daily to see if any patients had been admitted who listed their religious affiliation as Unitarian. On that particular day, there was one. A care team member couldn't reach the patient by phone and asked if I would follow up. I made the hospital visit. The patient and his wife was there and were a bit surprised by the visit. You see, I learned that the patient was an All Souls member who hadn't been to the church for many years and had lost touch with the community. They both expressed their gratitude and appreciation for the visit. And I could sense that my presence brought a degree of comfort to them as the patient was facing a serious health challenge. Our care team members and ministers kept up with our contacts and visits in the weeks following this. Sadly, the man later passed away. And upon his death, his family reached out to us for continued support. This is just one of the countless examples of the care our pastoral care teams and ministers provide for this community. And our pastoral care ministers to this beloved congregation are, and please stand when I call your name, Reverend Marlon Lavenhar, Reverend Barbara Prose, Reverend Kathy Edwards, Reverend John Beidler, Reverend Doug Inhofe, Minister Corey Lovell, and myself, Minister Randy Lewis. Thank you. You may be seated. Here in our All Souls community, you can reach a trained pastoral caregiver 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, simply by calling 918-724-TEAM. Over the last 18 years, our pastoral care program has expanded to become a true gathering place of care and support, which encompasses several teams and support groups, all listed in your order of services. And if you are a pastoral care volunteer, please stand when we mention your team. We have, of course, the care team, Shawl Ministry. Said, stand, you're going to stand as I mention your team. Looks like I said that really quick. Please stand as I mention your team. Care team, of course, the Shawl Ministry, Helping Souls, Parish Nurses, Memorial Garden team, which we had inadvertently left off the order of services today, Memorial Guild, Life Decisions, Friendly Souls, Spirit Song, NAMI Family Support Group, All Souls Trekkers, Cancer Support Group, and coming soon, and All Souls Diabetes Support Group. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. And will the care team who just sat down, all the members who are present, please join us on the chancel. Yes. And all the chairs of each of the groups mentioned are also invited to join us on the chancel.
While Spirit Song offers us a song, graces us with a song.
Somebody sang for me, had me on their mind, took the time and sang. Somebody walked with me, had me on their mind, took the time and walked with me. I'm so glad they walked. I'm so glad they walked. I'm so glad they walked with me. Somebody prayed with me, had me on their mind, took the time and prayed with me. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed with me.
Really? My turn? Okay. Thank you, Spirit Song. And to you, pastoral care team members and leaders, do you accept this call to serve as pastoral caregivers to our beloved church community, providing comfort and presence as you are able? If so, please say, I do.
I do. Will you serve with your whole self, body, mind, and spirit, and practice the self-care that is calling that this calling requires? If so, please reply, we will. We will.
And now to the congregation, will you, in times of need, when your heart might be broken, or you're in the hospital, or you need a meal or a ride or something like that, and it's really something that could help you, will you reach out to these caregivers, even the Spirit Song, who will sing for your loved ones or you as you lay dying? Will you reach out to our care team when you need it? If so, please say, I will.
Okay, that's good. I want to invite you all now to take a moment and just look at your own hands. Think of all the memories that your hands hold. Feel the strength and sensitivity in your own hands. Well, I have a few words to say to Minister Randy Lewis. Randy, as we have worked alongside each other many years ago, and more recently over this summer and this fall, I have learned to trust your hands and your heart. In fact, I always have trusted your heart, and I've only learned to more deeply trust your mind, your heart, your soul, and your hands. Your hands know how to care for and comfort others. Your hands know how to offer and also make space for or allow for healing to happen naturally by the grace of the Spirit. Your hands are hands that will work alongside all the members of this congregation, building relationships of trust. Your hands know love and loss and carry great compassion. Therefore, your hands know how to hold fear and grief and guilt and regret. Your hands will offer and receive many, many blessings of comfort and strength over the years. The knowing, the strength, and the sensitivity in these hands, with great faith and complete confidence, I pass over the pastoral care ministries of this congregation into your hands.
All of what she said. That same blessing bestowed upon me. I want to bless these hands. These are the hands and the hearts, minds, and spirits and souls that I will be working with this year and in the years to come. May your hands do the good work of this world. care team, we're so grateful for your ministry, and as a small token of your appreciation, of our appreciation, there's a small gift waiting for you in the front office. But as you leave the chancel today, may you see with tender eyes the wounds of those before you. May you hear with well-tuned ears the unspoken needs of those whose voices are muted. May you hold with gentle hands the bodies and the spirits of those you care for. May the beauty of soul, the strength of spirit, the wholeness of being lead you, inspire you, and let you know your own beauty of soul, spirit, strength of spirit, wholeness of being. And as you care for others, may you also be seen, cared for, and tenderly held. Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Go. Be blessed and be a blessing. Today we honor the mystery and complexity of life. We acknowledge that life is never static and that change is the only permanent thing we are presented with. But we feel thankful that we do not have to traverse this world alone. We are grateful for being part of this community to share our lives' transitions, both joyful and painful. We light a candle for the family and friends of Jane Estes, who passed away on September 13th. And our online viewers and everywhere members, Kathy Keffer Pitcock says, please light a candle for recovery of Kendall, who's had surgery this week. And a candle for all the healthcare workers in our schools and for health care in our schools. Jamako Tesaro says, today is election day here in Italy. Please pray for our future government. I invite you now to name aloud someone you wish to include in this sacred space. We light a candle for all the precious names spoken and those unspoken, but remain in our hearts. If you have lost a loved one in the past year, or this Sunday is the closest to the anniversary of the death of that loved one, we invite you now to stand in memory until the spoken prayer begins. You may be seated. God of peace, hope, and love, on this beautiful day, surrounded by this loving community, indeed, we are thankful that we have each other and that we're called to this place for such a time as this. We are reminded that we are but sojourners on this plane of existence, and that the expressions of genuine care, friendship, and love are true gifts, treasures really, with which life occasionally grants us. Oh God, we gratefully receive these gifts and let them light our way, support us in our need, heal us when we are broken, inspire us to dream big, and exemplify service to others. As our souls hunger for meaning and purpose, they find nourishment together in the context of community, this community. And let us be thankful for the multitude of things, great and small, that bind us together, and for the tremendous privilege and solemn duty to build, uplift, and to care for one another. For these and all blessings, we say, Amen.
There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. Would you sing that with me? There is more love. There is more somewhere. There is more love. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. Till I find it. There is more. There is more peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. Would you hum with me? There's more love. There is more.
Music is so special, and when it's performed right in front of you, when it's sung and wafted over you, it's so special. It's so filling of the spirit, of the soul, you might say. And the violin we'll hear in a little while. We're so glad you're with us this morning, and the choirs and spirit song and music. It's been written. Boniface Hardin wrote, "If we didn't have music, dancers would be soldiers too, holding guns in their arms instead of each other." If we didn't have music, dancers would be soldiers holding guns in their arms rather than each other. When we don't feed our soul, we can become fighters and fighting, and we can lose the sense that life is about dancing and singing and loving. And it can become about warring and fighting and pettiness. Have you ever seen a group of dogs trying to eat from the same bowl? You know, the biggest ones and the meanest ones, they'll always, the more dominant ones, I should say, will get to that bowl first and sort of squeeze out the smaller ones. Biet Simpkin, in her book, Don't Just Sit There, she explains that the soul eats last because the mind and the body are like ravenous animals that always fight to get themselves fed first. The mind and the body, always hungry. If we don't find ways to slow down our mind and our body, put the brakes on, if you will, then our soul can get depleted and lack nourishment. Now, the eyes have been called the mouth of the soul. I would say the ears and all of our senses are ways in which the soul can take in nourishment. I'll give you an example. The other day, I was watching a sunset, beautiful sunset, and it was gorgeous. And of course, my mind immediately said, "Oh, you should take a picture of this and post it on Facebook." So I got my camera, I got my phone out, I got all lined up. It took a few times to get the right picture. Then I took my phone, and then I wanted to edit it a little bit because I just wanted to bring out the colors a little bit. So I was editing it, and then I posted it. But when I opened my phone, I noticed I had a couple of text messages. And so my mind also thought it was very important that I look at those text messages. So I started to look and respond to those text messages. And as you can imagine, by the time I got done fiddling with my phone, I missed the heart of the sunset. My soul was not fed because I was feeding my mind. Sometimes it's the body. Our body will say, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I've seen other sunsets, I'm gonna go get something to drink or to eat. But then again, the body and the mind want to eat first, and the soul can end up being malnourished. Now, you might be asking yourself, what does he mean by soul? What is the soul? What is that thing we call the soul? The soul is that part of a person that makes meaning. And the part of us that experiences love and joy and trust in relationships. The soul is the part of a person that gives us an innate sense of our own goodness and interconnectedness and agency. Now, the soul is connected to the body and to the brain, but unlike the body and the brain, when those physical parts of a person have holes in them, those holes mostly cannot be repaired, right? Brain damage is irreparable. Many holes that we might get in our physical body can be irreparable, but holes in the soul are repairable. Now, how do we get holes in our souls? One way is that if we experience violence, we get holes in our souls, like trauma causes holes to be formed in our souls. Also, if we perpetuate violence against somebody else, that can create a hole in our soul. If we're neglected or abused or oppressed, all of those things cause trauma, cause wounds, if you will, to the soul. So some people had a parent or a spouse who was addicted or mentally ill, and their actions or their lack of attention created a soul wound. Maybe you had an abusive teacher or preacher or boss, or someone else who you had to count on or who you looked up to who was constantly critical or inappropriate. Maybe you were bullied or excluded because of your gender or your ethnicity, or made to feel less than because you didn't have as much money as someone else. Or if you've been violent or addicted or abusive to others, that leaves holes in your soul. Even just witnessing these things, someone having violence perpetrated against them, that is traumatic. But the good news is that unlike the body and the brain, when there's a hole in the soul, it can be repaired. Now, even for people who have escaped real deep traumatic experiences, the soul can become malnourished because of this fast-paced, highly materialistic society that we live in. And instead of feeding the soul, people look for joy and energy in all the wrong places, through money, or status, or being liked, or through drugs and alcohol, pornography, transgressive relationships. People's souls are thirsty. And if we don't know how to feed them, then we grasp for hope and for help and for uplift, for energy, if you will. We try to grab it from this horizontal plane that we live on in many of the wrong places. There's a woman named Elaine who happens to be African American. She was from a working class family, but since she was a child, she dreamed and imagined herself as a high-powered professional. Now, neither of her parents went to college, but she was determined to get a job where she could wear a power suit and sit behind a nice desk in a fancy office. And sure enough, when the time came, she did it. When she landed her first job, Elaine remembered walking in that first day looking fantastic and feeling like $1 million. It didn't take her long to prove herself and to work her way up through the ranks of her company. That meant nicer offices and more responsibility and more money and more respect. And then after some years, Elaine started feeling pretty empty. In fact, she realized that she was giving too much of her life to her work. She wasn't living the life that felt true to her. Now, she told her sister what she was going to do. And despite her sister trying to talk her out of doing it, Elaine went into her boss's office the next day and quit. Now, the moment she did, she describes feeling the most amazing or enormous weight come off of her, and she felt light, and she felt free in a way that she hadn't felt in years. She decided in that moment she will never again put herself in a position of living a life that was not nourishing of her soul. She had some soul wounds from growing up in a culture that doesn't always see and respect women or African Americans. That part of her that makes meaning was being crowded out by her drive for material success. That part of her that experiences love and joy and trust was not being regularly fed. The part of her that knows her innate goodness was seeking validation from outside of herself. It turns out Elaine ended up staying with the company, but she started to wear clothes that were more reflective of who she is. And she began to manage her schedules and projects in ways that allowed her to build her relationships, to volunteer in her community, and to travel for fun. Elaine found ways to feed her soul. So let's talk about ways that we might nourish our souls so that our minds and bodies don't exhaust all the sustenance. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the eyes can be the mouth of the soul, and all the senses can. So experiencing moments of beauty with mindfulness and presence is one of the best ways to feed our soul. Now, it could mean going to some place and watching a sunrise or a sunset, or going to the botanical gardens, or visiting a museum, but not just visiting and walking through until your legs and your lower back hurt, but actually, sitting in front of a piece of beautiful work of art and just really taking it in, really just sitting and taking it in fully. Or creativity feeds the soul. So even if you're not an artist, creating something feeds the soul. President Bush, he began painting after he retired. And he talks about how he did it because as president, he sent a lot of young people into war, a war of choice, in fact. And that weighs heavily. That's a heavy burden. Many died and many were injured. Now, I wonder if he had started painting before while he was president and fed his soul in that role, what might have been different. Meditation is another wonderful way to fill your soul. Also, eating mindfully. Now, this was something, I did this recently with an orange. All right? Instead of mindlessly shoving slices into my mouth while watching TV or talking to someone on the phone, I closed my eyes and I experienced, I know it's going to sound kind of weird, but I experienced peeling and eating that orange, and I have to tell you, it was a peak experience. The sound of the peel cracking off, the spray of the oils and the scent, the cool little tickle of juice running down my forearm, and the flavor practically exploded in my mouth. Before it was over, I was aware that the sun and the clouds and the rain and the earth were all in that orange. And now in me, I felt connected to life and nature and joy just because I slowed down and made eating that blessed orange the main event. Now, listening to gorgeous, delicious music, that feeds the soul. But I don't mean while you're raking the leaves or while you're driving or exercising. I mean listening to music as the thing that you're doing. Now, when we make time to feed our soul, we become better people. We become more relaxed. We become more open. We become more able to handle the stress of life and parenting and marriage and being single and paying bills and all the other things that we do. But if that's all we do and we don't feed the soul, we get really dilapidated. There was a man named Daniel who was at the hospital because his wife was about to give birth to their child. Now, before his wife went in, she was having a cesarean section, and before she went in, the OBGYN came out to introduce himself and talk to Daniel. And he found out that Daniel was a musician, and he said, I wish I had become a musician. Now, when the baby arrived, the doctor came out of the OR, and he told Daniel everything went well. The baby was doing great. The mother was doing well. And as they were talking, another doctor who was involved in this birth came out, and he said to the OBGYN, it was such a joy to work with you and to see you working in there. You're really great at what you do. Shook his hand and walked on. And after that, Daniel asked him, do you still wish you'd become a musician? You just brought a new life into the world, and you clearly have the admiration of the people around you. And the doctor said, I know why I did so well today. I woke up early, and I spent an hour playing Chopin on the piano. He fed his soul. Now, we are reminded who we are and why we are when we stop and we slow down and we let the soul eat and be nourished. Now, in his song, Steer Your Way, Leonard Cohen writes or sings, steer your way past the ruins of the altar and the mall. Steer your way through the fables of creation and the fall. Steer your way past the palaces that rise above the rot, year by year, month by month, day by day, thought by thought. They whisper still, the ancient stones, the blunted mountains weep. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make things cheap. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make things cheap. What a line. Now, for those whose spirituality is rooted in the Christian tradition, I would offer that Jesus not just died, but he lived to make people holy. It is his life and his teachings that have the possibility of helping people to live lives of meaning and purpose. Now, I think Jesus and all of the great spiritual teachers help us to live in ways that are not superficial, ways that allow us to remember what's important in life, seeking forgiveness when we've done something wrong, loving others, forgiving others, caring, compassion, connection, courage. Now, of course, Jesus was killed for those teachings. So in that sense, he did die to make us holy. But are we dying to make things cheap? The question behind this entire message is, are you living in ways that lift up the sacredness of life, the meaning and the purpose of it, or are you just following the materialistic values of making things cheap and dying to support the economy? It's important for us to find ways in our daily lives to hold back the wild animals of the mind and the body so that our soul can eat. So let's have a feast right now. I'm going to invite our musicians to come forward, Daniel, and if you will come forward. Now, during this next musical performance, don't take out your phone to post this on Facebook. Forget about the things that you need to do after church. Sit as comfortably as you can so your body doesn't distract you and try to grab your attention. This music is a banquet for the soul. Let it fill the cracks. Let it seep into the dry places like rain on parched earth. Let it shower you like the mist of a waterfall, cleansing your soul. Let your soul feast on the music and let it be filled. All the holes, all the cracks, all the dry, parched places. Now, for some, today is the beginning of a new year, a new beginning. Let it be so for you.
Thank you for that beautiful music and that beautiful message. They say it's been written that the soul is also rather shy. So I hope your shy souls are feeling well nourished after all of that. And I think respectful conversation, sharing from the heart and listening from the heart is another way we nourish our souls in this community. And there's an opportunity today at 4 o'clock, sponsored by Action, to share your own stories, what's happening in your own life, and have other people listen to you as we re-engage, return, renew ourselves and each other in this congregation as we begin a new year together. That's today at 4, Congregational Conversations. There's more information in your orders of service. You can also stop in at the front office or in the foyer for more information about that. Our classes start this Wednesday at 5:30. Often we offer meditation classes, other ways to feed or nourish the soul. Dinner, chapel, and classes begin this Wednesday here at All Souls, and some of those classes will be hybrid as well. Look forward to seeing those of you who are joining us online. And our Foundations of Unitarian Universalism class begins next Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning, if that's the right time for you. Taught by all of our ministers, you'll learn more of the history and the theology of this faith tradition that's led us to be so inclusive and learn how to live love beyond belief. There are also always opportunities to serve. Our Partners in Education team is at a table in the foyer this morning. Hope you'll stop and say hello to them. See if that's something you'd like to get involved with this year. Know that your team or committee can always sign up to have a table in the foyer to meet and greet other people and share what you're doing, what good works you're doing in the world. And if you're looking for a way to engage as we begin a new year, our Welcoming Souls team is having a relaunch next Sunday from 4 to 6. Those are our ushers, our greeters in the building and online. And we're always looking for new people to be the face of the church and welcome other people into this sacred space. Oh my gosh, wonderful. I hope you look around and see the children returning. It's a wonderful sight. Come on in. Our offering this morning goes to the Sherwin Miller Museum of Art. The museum has a permanent collection of art depicting the 5,000-year history of the Jewish people, all the way through the settling of the Jewish community here in Tulsa. Also interesting is there are items donated by Oklahoma veterans who took part in the liberation of concentration camps. So we'll now gratefully receive this morning's offering. If you'd like to make a donation to the church, please use those white envelopes in the back of the pews in front of you. Thank you.
So your homework for this week is to feed your soul. Find some ways to be really present and mindful, and know that even in a single piece of fruit, you can experience the whole world and your connection to it, and experience joy that is incredible. In fact, for Jewish folks, during the New Year, during Rosh Hashanah, they eat apples with honey to enjoy the sweetness of life. So maybe you can try that, or some other piece of fruit that you like, but find ways to nourish your soul, because you deserve it. And this life can be pretty hard, and things are pretty torn up right now in many ways, and in many of our personal lives and our country and in different ways. So feeding our souls is as important as ever. I keep going back to what would happen if the president were painting every morning before going in to doing the work. Maybe that would have taken care of having to paint these fallen soldiers. So feed your soul, and know that when you do so, you're not being selfish to you. You're actually helping to make the world a better place. So as Randy's going to extinguish our chalice, if you have one at home, you can extinguish yours as well. I'd invite you to rise for our benediction. We'll have refreshments and fellowship, and look forward to greeting you on the way out. If you're online, you can stay and talk with one another on Zoom. But as you go forth into this day, may your eyes see beauty, may your lips speak truth, may your heart know love, and may your hands do the good works of this world all the days of your life. And until we meet again, go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.